All right, we've got a special edition of the online dinner party, and we're going to do a interview session with none other than Marklin Johnson, Marklin T. Johnson, and we're going to be talking about a lot of things. A lot of people are thinking about motivation on this particular day because this particular day is the middle of March Madness. As a matter of fact, my team is currently up and winning because I am a graduate of Marquette University, the Big East champions, and of course the Big East Conference champions as well. Even though Vermont isn't exactly running away and not making it easy and all in that space. But the last time I checked, I think they were up by 12 or something points along those lines. But definitely, we do know that a 15 can knock off a two. It happened earlier in the tournament. So definitely, that is something that can go on. And we saw some other upsets as well, including Furman knocking off somebody, and even Princeton knocking off somebody as well. So definitely, there will be some more upsets during this tournament, and that is what happens when we have the NCAA March Madness. But they are not lacking motivation. At least we hope they aren't. But then sometimes you look at the players and you wonder if they're lacking motivation or not, because some of the players do not seem to be as into it as you would expect them to be at this particular time of year. But then you also will see some players step up that you're not expecting. And of course, injuries can play a key part as well. So those are some of the things that go on when March Madness is taking place or any of the sporting events. But I'm going to bring in Marklin Johnson. We're going to talk about the lack of motivation as well as some of the other things that he talks about on a regular basis. But I'm going to bring in him and see if Mr. Johnson has any favorite teams or anybody that he roots for along those lines, or what his whole thoughts is in that space, because definitely a lot of people are into the public speaking space, and I know that not everybody is always prepared to do public speaking. I've done some public speaking, and of course, I've also done some MCing in the past for various festivals and various other events as well. But for those that have not seen you before, tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Johnson, and of course, think of talk about motivation, because, like I said, this is a time of the year and you would expect all of these young cats would be motivated. But then, like I said, sometimes you look at the players and some of the players, and maybe they're thinking about that NBA money or some of their other plans, because not everybody's going to make it to the NBA. We do know that it is a very small percentage of those that are playing college
1%.
who actually make it.
1% makes it to the NBA. I don't understand why people don't understand it. 1% is going to make it to college. 1% is going to make it to the professional. Even with the expansion of the XFL and USFL and all these other teams the leagues that they're trying to create, 1% of every category is going to make it. You know, it's funny that you said this. Yesterday, I had to go to a school, elementary school, Polk Elementary School in Roselle, New Jersey.
Right.
And I had to speak to third and fourth graders about career day and what I do.
Right.
And, you know, the normal guy would come in there and just say, this is what I do. Love me, love me, love me. This is what I do. Ask all the questions. I took an opportunity to turn it into a full-fledged, I'm going to talk to you and tell you the deal.
Right.
I'm going to let you know exactly how this works, right? Because I had permission to film as long as I didn't show any of the students on camera, right? So I decided, all right, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask them what they want to be, but I'm also going to give them some motivation. And when you and I are about the same age, I just turned 50. You look like you're about 45.
I'm glad that you gave me that compliment. I actually just hit the big 60 on last July, and I'll be hitting the 61 next time. But
So
my
technically,
brother,
we're within the same age group, right?
yeah, yes,
When we were younger, we had one thing we wanted to be when we would grow up. It might have changed, but it was one thing. These
right,
kids today all had multiple things they wanted to be. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be a business owner, and I want to own a salon, and I want to own a car. They had multiple ideas of what they want to be, which tells you where our society is today. That even the third graders are understanding you can't be just one thing, you know. And I think that's a great thing and a great aspect to have.
yeah,
So
it is a great aspect to have. One of the things that you said that I was curious about, since you brought it up and everything, a couple of things crossed my mind as you were talking. One is I was having a conversation. I was reading an article about a gentleman here that's in the real estate space, and he was basically got was one of the major chains. We won't say which one it was, but it's one of the major chains and all in that space. And then he was um, fired at a young age as a teenager. And then he had another friend who was in that same space of pizza ownership with a local pizza shop, went over there, talked to him, basically laid out a 10-year plan as to what he wanted to do. And one of those things was to eventually own his own property. So he's literally bought the building because he was not happy when he got fired. That was the location where the particular pizza joint that fired him was located at. But he was a brother that was in the real estate space or is in the real estate space. And one of the things that the article brought up, coming back to that 1%, is that apparently we're only 1% of people in real estate, and our Latin brothers aren't doing that well either and everything. So that would seem to be something that we need to be having more of our kids thinking about going into, but we're not exactly burning up that in terms of percentage either. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, because some people, when I brought that up earlier, they were like, oh, it really shouldn't matter. You shouldn't need to have something that is representative of your population. And I'm going like, no, I think we need representation even in the
well, and that goes into the whole entire DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation. A lot of people, unfortunately, we have politicians that are fighting against it because to them, they want to call it woke. And I don't know how far into the conversation you want to get, but I love digging into what I love about what I do stand-up comedy, is that I get to dig into conversations and really discuss with people things that are going on to get a better feel of people. Because I hate people on the level of people are not always genuine when they interact with you. Sometimes they show you a face they want you to believe, or a face they think is the acceptable face for the world. And I've always worn everything I am on my sleeve. And it's not always met with the best, but that's where I hate people, because not everybody knows how to return that energy.
No, that's real true. That's real true. Since you mentioned woke, we actually have a gentleman on the network that does a conservative show, and he's actually very much against the Democrats. And I'm not saying that the Democrats are great. I'm not saying the Republicans are great, because I actually think that both parties have some serious issues with the extremes being in charge and all in that space. But, I want to hear your thoughts about this, because last time I checked, and you do mention that you're a comedian as well. When you wake up, you are awoke, or you have awakened and all in that space. So this whole notion of woke being a negative term, I don't quite get, because I think that we all, when we go to sleep, we want to wake up the next morning. I mean, we don't know what's on the other side, so maybe heaven will be a lot greater and all in that space. But as a general rule, we're hoping that we wake up so that we can do some more positive things that we maybe didn't accomplish the first time around on the day before and all in that space. But that's my notion of being woke. But apparently they've turned it into something totally different than the actual definition.
Here's what their definition of being woke is. This world was catered towards me. This world was created for me. And I want all those people to go back into their closets and shut the front door up. I'm trying to get better at not swearing. So I'm trying to catch myself. But you guys know the F-bomb I'd rather use.
Okay? I understand.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to tell us. What's weird is how they turn talking about racism into being wokeism.
Right.
The thing about racism is it's not wokeism. No. Racism and wokeism are two different things. And then think about it. If you're anti-woke, that means you're asleep. If you want to stay asleep, stay asleep. But you being asleep is what's causing the problem. You are trying to act like gay people are not here. You're trying to act like transgender people are not here. The studies are out that kids are killing themselves at alarming rates because they have to hide that they're gay. They have to hide that they're transgendered. You want these kids to stay uncomfortable so you get to be comfortable. And you say you care about the kids, but that's how most of this stuff comes around. When they're doing studies, they don't care about us. We're about to die. Mm-hmm. You guys are about to die. Screw you people. We could care less. You know who we care about? The kids. So let's study the adults at a certain age and ask them, when did you know you were gay? When did you know that you were trans? When did you know you felt this way? Oh, I felt this way when I was, in 6th grade. when the guys were looking at the girls, I was looking at the guys, not me. But when you ask gay men these questions, they tell you this.
Yeah, no, they definitely tell you that. And it's
And the girls.
it's interesting you said that, because you were saying that. I was also thinking about something else that I read earlier today that was quite interesting. I don't know how much you follow science fiction and the whole Wakanda movement and other things that are out there, but even early in the days, I was a fan of Alvin Toffler and a lot of what people would consider futurists. And there is a futurist out there at this particular time that is saying that if we look at the modern day history, and I'm not saying he's always right, and not all futurists are, but he is saying that within 7 years, by 2030, we can all live to immortality. And that is something that he has brought up and everything, because he's talking about the little nanobots that can run in your body and fix your body and all in that space. And apparently he had some good track record. He did predict that a chess champion would that a computer would beat a human in chess, and he also predicted the growth of the internet. Not that that was exactly rocket science to predict any of those things and everything, but he did have the success with that. He also predicted singularity, which I'm not sure we're at, which is where that whole notion of the computers being as smart and as able to do as much as humans, and they're being kind of like sentient beings and all in that space. And I'm not sure I'm ready for that. I don't know about you, but I don't know that I'm ready.
Listen, here's the thing. I don't want to live to be immortal, because if we live to be immortal, all of a sudden, everything else is going to become a problem. You're going to have a 108-year-old guy talking about, when I was younger. You know what? When it's my time to die, if I get in a car accident tomorrow and it's my time, it's my damn time. I don't want. Hold on for a second. If we build him, he'll stay around. I don't want. What's going to happen if they create symbiotes and all of a sudden my arm has a computer chip in it that can take over and start thinking for itself, and it just goes around smacking racist people for no reason? Like, all of a sudden I put a chip in my arm and I say smack racist people when they say racist terms. So now every time I hear somebody say something that's closely racist, it starts going around smacking people. Then there are people are we gotta stop worrying. We can't let the chips be programmed with racist thoughts. Like, just everybody wants to live. This is the comedy part of my brain. I know.
No, I love the comedy part. I was going off because you were saying that. I was thinking to myself that could make some very interesting legal cases, because then you would be able to blame your arm for doing it if it went out there and slapped somebody, if it went out there and did some things with some of these young ladies or got the rap on and everything. You can blame it on that part of the body. So that's a whole a thing that you can be blaming on the body and saying it wasn't me. It was the arm or the computer chip and all in that space. So I was with you on that comedy thing. I'm going like, but don't we already have that with ChatGPT? Because that's been one of the complaints about ChatGPT, is that it actually is programmed by humans, and as being programmed by humans, if the human is racist or biased, then it's going to program and say those biased things, which is why there are some of these programs. It's not just ChatGPT, it's also Bard. I think it's called Bard or Bart or something like that, and some of the other competitors that are being called out for being blatantly racist, because they're asking them who are the smartest people, and then if it's programmed by certain people, then of course that's going to be the answers. That's actually my problem. I don't know if it's your problem, but that's my problem with the whole DNA test. Because the last time I checked, most of those DNA companies, 21andMe and everything, they're based in Europe. So if they're based in Europe, isn't your sample, the sample that you have to test against, going to be mostly European? Therefore, we're all going to come out as having some semblance of European blood in us and everything, even though we all know that Africa was the civilization and the start of civilization. But every time we turn around, everybody's got this Irish population in there.
Here's what I believe about all this trying to get the genetic traits and everything like that. If you do some reading and if you do some fact finding, scientists are constantly on the hunt to create the perfect human being.
Mm-hmm.
They even said within a few years, they'll be able to grow a human womb and a baby in a human womb, like basically recreate the human womb and grow a baby in it within the next few years. Think about it.
So guys will be able to have their own babies, which is one of the things that they've been saying that they
want. So walk away from that, right? Mm-hmm. Because the whole entire guys can't be pregnant. That's not the point. The point that we're making is that eventually you won't even need a woman for recreation. because they'll be able to make. So my point I'm making is the reason why they're doing all this DNA grabbing, they want to create the ultimate human being. They want to take the best traits of each culture that makes that culture great at something. Why is it that certain cultures can stand a cold and it could be sub-degree cold and they have no problem with living in that weather, right? Why is it that certain people can live at the equator and never, you know what I mean? The minute they move away from it, they start dying off because their body's adjusted to it. If we create the ultimate human being, those of us that ain't the ultimate human being are going to die off real soon.
And I think they tried that some time back. I mean, that was part of the issue with a certain person out of Germany, and that's why Jesse Owens kind of destroyed him and all in that space. He wasn't the only one, but there were other athletes that kind of like said this whole Aryan Nation thing isn't quite happening, and all in that space. And there are some people that would argue that that is partially what is going on with the whole war in Russia and Ukraine. And I'm not going to forgive everything that Ukraine has done either, because I do think that there are some parts of that conversation that are wrong on both
You still there, sir?
sides.
You still there?
That there are not some issues around Zelensky as well, but I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, here's my thing. One, I think as Americans, we get too involved. Can you still hear me? You can still hear me, correct? Because your screen is frozen. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Yes,
okay, yeah, you were frozen for a minute. I couldn't hear you.
Might be me.
Yeah, it might be, but it's all good. So to finish this off, the whole thing I see within the Ukraine is that I see people too busy I see Putin trying to just basically take over. I see Putin basically trying to, hey, I want to bring Russia back to its greatness. And I get it. Some people, for them, it's not America, sorry. Russia was a great country to them, and he wants to restore Russian pride and take back all the territories that belong to Russia. But I was also told, and I read it, that there was a valuable gas line that runs through there, and they're trying to reclaim it as theirs. And I don't know if that's yes, if that's no, or whatever. But is there a possibility at some point that maybe world interference is causing an imbalance of how people are being treated? Sometimes I think you got to let things be, and sometimes you can't interfere with other countries. I understand Ukraine is a smaller country, but Ukraine has been able to hold its own. Are you there, sir? Hello? Hickory, dickory, hello? Hello? Are you back, sir?
I'm going to reach out to Mr. Merkland and everything and all in that space. I was actually enjoying the conversation. Hopefully he'll come back. We were having some technical issues. Those do happen from time to time, but definitely I think he was giving us some great insight and all in that space. So you got to love technology and all along those lines. I was watching the game and it does look like my Marquette team has gone ahead and won the game. So that was a good thing to have happen and all in that space. So I'm glad to hear that happened. And like I said, I'm going to reach back out to Mr. Markland and see what he's got going on, because I was definitely finding his conversation very insightful and on the way and very interesting and all in that space. So I'm going to reach back out to him and hopefully he can make a return trip and we can continue this conversation, because I was thoroughly enjoying what he was saying and he was bringing up some of that comedy ability and all along those lines. So I'm going to reach back out to him and we're going to see if we can get him back on and sharing some of his wisdom and all in that space. But in the meantime, we're going to run a couple of advertisements and see what's going on in that space. So we're going to bring you up some information about Truso while I look for
I'd
Mr.
like
Markland.
you to imagine with me, if you will, opening an app where you can collaborate with like-minded individuals from around the world, get inspiration and in-app tools to launch and grow your business, as well as share your knowledge and earn compensation, all in one app. Well, the name of that app is Truso, short for Truly Social. Hi, I'm Matthew Newman, the founder and CEO of Truso. A new concept in social media, Truso is designed from the ground up to be a platform that's both social and empowering for all its users. How exactly do we do that? I'm glad you asked. First, Truso brings the world together via video. Psychologists assert that video provides a significantly more effective connection than audio only. When you enter a community on Truso, you're face to face. Second, on Truso, you don't have to have 1 million followers to monetize. Our business model allows all hosts and moderators to monetize, no matter the size of your following, by 1, producing fee-based content, and 2, inviting others to join the platform as subscribers. Even more, Truso has an in-app resource library with over 100 free resources, forms, and documents to help you build your brand and grow your business. Third, Truso is inclusive. The deaf and hard of hearing communities make up 360 million people worldwide. Unlike audio-only apps, Truso embraces this community, providing a networking platform that allows them to participate via video and closed captioning. We even have a deaf and hard of hearing foundation in the works as well. Fourth, Truso is both social and safe. We refer to Truso as a virtual extension of the beauty shop, barbershop, and brainchild of the community. A place where there's laughter, along with wisdom, growth-oriented conversation, and genuine connections in a safe space. Truso even has proprietary security to ensure we maintain a safe environment for everyone. Where are we at now? Truso is live, y'all. We've launched in beta and we're acquiring users daily. We have an incredible development and marketing team, plus amazing celebrity influencers at the table, helping us spread the word around the globe, beginning within the African diaspora and beyond by creating a safe space for growth, connection, and collaboration. We're truly excited about Truso. We've created something special for which there is a global market. And we invite you to embark on this journey with us as a shareholder. The future for Truso is truly bright. Join us and let's go there together.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, powered by First Financial Security, our mission is to help all people achieve financial security and peace of mind.
My team and I are here to help you reach financial security tomorrow and for generations to come.
She is one of the most sincere and compassionate people that I will ever meet in my life. She sincerely wants to build a legacy where no young woman that she meets is left destitute, that they are able to be self-sufficient, to provide for a family in an emergency, to build for their future and for our future generations.
At Shirley Lou and Associates, we are changing the face of insurance and retirement plans. Our mission is to lead, empower, and grow. We are the home of tax-free retirement. We provide comprehensive planning for businesses, rollovers for retirees, and individual personal financial planning.
I'm a very people-oriented person. It's important for me to make sure my clients feel in a safe environment, make sure I feel in a safe environment, that I can trust the people that I'm working with. And I feel that here working with Shirley and my team. These people are more like family to me.
Shirley has donated time and resources to the Shelter House, Women of Good Works, Good 360, Women That Soar, local churches, and the Lisa Initiative. The Lisa Initiative helps inform, educate, and empower women and their families' financial security. We believe entrepreneurship is a possibility for all walks of life.
Reach out to us. We would love to have a conversation to see how we can help.
Sometimes technology has a mind of its own in all in those spaces, but that's the way that life.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
I know you know. I know you know. Coming back to the whole technology and all of that space, what is your thoughts around motivation? We were talking about that earlier and everything, but I sometimes wonder if people are enough self-motivators, because I sometimes think that we defeat ourselves in our motivations. One of the things that we've talked about on the various shows that we do is how we can be our own worst critics and sometimes can have a defeatist attitude. I know that I have listened to my inner critic just as much as I listen to those outer critics, and we know that a lot of times the outer critics have a whole nother mission, but sometimes we even talk ourselves out of going for jobs and going for opportunities, even going for that young lady that you might be thinking about courting. And yes, even at 60 you can still be in that courting space as well. So I just wonder, how much do you think that we self-defeat ourselves when we need to be motivating ourselves?
Well, one, I think what motivates us is different to everyone.
Right.
Everyone has different motivators. You know, like some people like to be treated like complete crap, and that motivates them to become better.
Right.
You know what I mean? Some people love to be loved on and coddled, and that motivates them. In the realms of motivation, I think sometimes people need to see themselves able to accomplish stuff. When I talk about racism, I say, here's the reason why racism partly doesn't get resolved. Because you get these doctors, you get these lawyers, you get these educators, these scholars, and they bullet point talk.
Mm-hmm.
People don't relate to bullet points. Bullet points are great because you're giving us ideas. But if a person can't relate to you as an everyday person, their brain shuts down. Yeah. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to listen because, well, you're a doctor. You're not like me. I wake up and go to school. I wake up and go to work every day. You're a doctor. You make $800,000 a year. What do you know about my plight? You make money from talking about racism. So, of course, you're trying to perpetuate the racism, right? Mm-hmm. But if you, as an everyday person, which is what I do, and I always tell people, I'm that guy that goes get a beer at the corner with you. Right. Remember me? Yeah. So when I talk about it, I'm that guy that like, oh, he watches the same TV shows we do. Mm-hmm. He takes vacation like we do. So now I'm sharing you my story and saying, yeah, but I experienced this world a little bit different. That's the motivation. Like people sometimes need to see themselves in order to be motivated.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the conversations I've been having with one of my co-hosts, because they are they sometimes do not understand the notion of systematic racism, because they sometimes, when I bring it up, they're going like, is that even possible in this day and age and everything? And I'm going like, yeah, there can be unwritten policies that will get somebody that is renting a facility that is African American not to get it, whereas his white counterpart may get it. And you can even do the studies that where you go to the same facility and you go to the house and they say the house has been sold, but then you turn around and the same gentleman that is of another race comes there and they're trying to sell him the house. So maybe the house wasn't sold, they just didn't like your color and everything. And the same thing goes on, I would argue, in some of the things like insurance and some of the other things that take place. But then you have folks that are like, no, systematic racism isn't a thing in the 21st century.
Literally, a couple put their house on the market for $700,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
They knew that the house was being undervalued.
Right.
They de-blackicized it. They took away any remnants of it being owned by black people.
Right.
They then had a white couple fake the funk like they owned the house,
mm-hmm.
and had it appraised for $500,000 more.
Right.
And people say that's not a problem. I even have a friend that I considered a good friend was like, well, I had to de-Jew my house. That's just part of the system.
Right.
Why is it part of the system, and why are you okay with it? You should be, as long as your house is clean and livable.
Right.
And even then, if you're selling real estate, some real estate people will sell a house that's not clean and livable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the occupants of the house. It's about the house.
I would think it would be about the house, and that makes a lot of sense to me and everything. I would think it would be about the house, but then, people sometimes will look at what the other people have, and they want to get what the Joneses have. That even comes down to relationships, and sometimes that can be a whole nother conversation in houses and all in that space, because you can definitely delist a house and de-black or de-Jew or whatever other kind of way you can do it. But then I've also been in situations where people, even in the 21st century, are still looking for keeping up with the Joneses. And as a comedian and a motivational speaker, I just wondered your thoughts about that and everything.
Well, here's the reality of it. Everybody wants to live a comfortable lifestyle.
Right.
Everybody wants to be able to say, I'm able to, afford what I want to afford, go on vacation when I want to go on vacation. But the problem is people are angry at other people for not getting what they believed and was told they deserve.
Right.
But us, and I hate to use racism, but racism is where it's at right now. And what I mean by that is right now, America is looking at itself in the mirror hard. Mm-hmm. And racism is so ingrained into the system that it literally is black and white.
Right.
If I dare to tell people, well, I never felt comfortable in corporate America because I'm an outspoken black male, and not that I'm an outspoken black male about racism, I'm an outspoken black male. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put up with being treated second tier. I see a guy come in here and tell you all to go F yourselves, and only thing you do is give him a raise and put him in another position. If I do that, I get fired because I don't know my place.
Yeah.
It's the tale of two cities.
Definitely. I can definitely see being the tale of two.
When you're talking in general to people, and I always boil it down to experience. Mm-hmm. You're a 60-year-old and you're a black male, but you're in North Carolina.
Right.
I could never tell you what it's like to be a black guy in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. But how idiotic would I be to try to tell you this?
Right.
But people seem to think they can. Oh, you've got a front yard and a backyard. I had a guy say this to me. You grew up in a nice house. You had a front yard. You had a backyard. I didn't see you scrapping. So you're saying only poor people experience racism. Part of motivational speaking is based around allowing people to understand your experience. Mm-hmm. So by understanding the experience, I'm trying to motivate you to do something different. I'm trying to motivate you to understand I don't want more than you. I want the cap removed that I can enjoy the lifestyle that you're enjoying without walking into the room and being like, look at the black guy.
Because I'm assuming everybody that meets you probably assumes, because I do know a little bit about the places that you've lived at and everything, but I'm assuming everybody that meets you assumes, one, that you are a Vikings fan, go Minnesota, because I am a Vikings fan, and two, that you probably love every song that Prince ever made, because we do know that Prince was from Minneapolis and all of that. I'm not saying that you're not a Prince fan, but I'm just saying that everybody's making that assumption.
I'm from Jersey. I lived in Minnesota for 9 years, moved back to Jersey, still in Jersey. Am I a Prince fan? Yes, but no, I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Right.
When they see me, they see Jamal. When I speak, they hear Kevin.
I gotcha.
You know what I mean? And that throws them off because they're waiting for me to be speaking in Ebonics.
Right.
And that's the reason why I started getting into motivational speaking was because I wanted to level the playing field.
Yeah, that makes
And
a lot
leveling the playing field is motivating people no matter what color they are. I just did in November, I did a speech to Weichert Realty. Black and white people in the room.
Right.
And my message wasn't different to the black guy or to the white guy. It was the same message. Change your method if you want different results.
Yep. That
The
makes a lot
ultimate sign of insanity. You do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. Who's the crazy person?
Yeah, that's a very good question. You know, there's so many issues that are going on, and I just wanted your thought about it, because I know one of the other things that you speak about and are very concerned about is the state of mental health, and particularly the state of mental health among our youth and everything. But I'm just thinking, I don't have any kids of my own, but I do have two nephews. They'll be 14 and 15 in August, because they were born on the same month, a year apart from each other. But even those that were, say, born in 2001, they've been through the pandemic, they've been through the war in Russia, and with Russia and Ukraine, they've been through the 9/11, and they've been through some serious earthquakes. They've been through a whole heck of a hell of a lot. So I can definitely understand where a lot of them might be going crazy and trying to grab guns and do other crazy things just because of what they've gone through in the last 20, 21 years and all in that space. But I'm just wondering, and then there's the whole conversations around their rights as humans, and particularly in our race conversations and all in that line.
Here's the issue. The family structure has been killed because mom's at work now.
Right.
Which is caused by living with the Joneses.
Right.
I found an interesting stat the other day. 60% of Americans live on $60,000 or less. 60%. 1% makes $100,000 or more. And I could be a little bit off. It might be 5%. 5% makes more than 100,000. Yeah. So if you put those numbers together, that means roughly 39% of Americans are making between $60,000 and $99,000. These people are not rich. They're living like they're trying to live to keep up with the Joneses because they want to live like the people that are making 150 to 200 to 300,000. They want to fake the funk.
Right.
I will go out and pay $500 for a car a month, right? Because Joe over there is paying $500 to have a car.
Is that why you're going to pay $1,000 or whatever the ridiculous amount of money it is to go to a Beyonce concert? Because there's yes. people that are faking the fun.
And because nobody wants to be left out. Nobody wants to be able to say, I can't afford it, right? That's number one. Number two, which is huge. Because both parents are working, kids are not able to establish hardcore relationships with one parent or the other.
Right.
Your relationship with your parents leverages your mental sanity to some degree.
Right.
Because you have one parent that's able to take you in and coddle you a little bit. They get to know you. They understand you. They know what makes you break and they know what makes you drive. Most of these parents today don't know that about their kid. How many times have you seen articles when they're like, I didn't even know my kid could draw?
But they didn't know their kid could draw, or even think about the criminals that do some heinous act, and they're like, they didn't know that they were even having those kind of things in their house when they found out that they had all kinds of what people would consider degenerate activities in their home, because a lot of times they were disconnected from and know that they were dressed in
exactly. And the thing is, because they're so disconnected. That disconnection has caused kids to relate with other kids who are not mentally strong.
Right.
They're looking for other kids that are making the same mistakes they're making to guide them. And now, because of TV and because of video games, because of this, which I'll admit, I'm a little bit of an addict.
Right.
I have a cell phone. I'll admit it right now to the world. Anyone see this? I'm addicted to my cell phone.
Yeah. Isn't that part of the reason that gangs are so popular? Is because somebody's looking for somebody to fill that void that they are missing and all in that space. But even on the phone thing, that's where I get a little frustrated, because I know that I've been to a couple of restaurants. I'll probably go to one later on today and grab a bite to eat and everything. And sometimes you will see an entire family hanging out together, but they're also on their individual devices.
All on their cell phone. What I'm going to do this afternoon, I'm going to meet up with some friends for, I was telling a friend of mine to contact me, and I said, hey, let me know. We can meet up and we can go for drinks. I'm going to try my best to leave my cell phone. I'm going to get an Uber, but I'm going to try my best to just leave my cell phone in my pocket and not respond. Because I'm trying to teach myself every day. I wake up, and that's caused me a problem. Like, listen, when they say porn is a problem, cell phones are a problem. It's the accessibility of porn. It's the accessibility of a cell phone. It's the endorphins that you get because of the instant gratification. And kids today have been taught instant gratification. The first thing that they always say, I read a lot of stuff. I read tons of stuff. And one thing that they said, the reason why kids today don't know the word no is because the minute they throw a temper tantrum, parents are so uninvolved with them that they throw them in front of an iPad and say, play your game, leave me alone. Yeah. The kid is craving for attention from you, and you throw him in front of an iPad and you say, play with the iPad. An iPad is only responsive to what you're telling it to do. Right. So when you remove the iPad and now the kid is playing with you and you're not doing what the kid tells it, you told the kid what to think. The kid thinks that he's supposed to respond, that we're supposed to respond when he clicks a button. I told you I wanted dinner. Why isn't dinner here? Because he thinks as long as I'm pushing a button, you should respond.
Right. He's got that instant gratification is to make you, jump. As soon as I say jump, how high should I jump kind of mentality and everything.
There's no mental stability coming from a cell phone.
No, not at all. But the other thing that goes on with the cell phone and also goes on with social media, and I know you're active in social media, is don't we sometimes put out too much of our business on social media, and then we wonder what happens when that's turned against us? I know that, we just celebrated this past Sunday the Oscars, and we know what happened the year before, with somebody basically called out one of your fellow comedians because they mentioned, they didn't hide the fact that they were involved in an open relationship. They also didn't hide the fact that they were dealing with a ailment that causes hair loss and all of that. That was all public notions and public things that they even themselves, meaning Will and Jada, put out there. So the fact that Chris decided to make that part of the joke and the routine, not that surprised. But there are also some people that think that was staged, and I'm not quite sure that I buy that and everything. But I'm just wondering your thoughts, because a lot of times even our entertainers and our athletes, and I mentioned the athletes earlier, will use their public forum to talk about issues that are of importance to them. So I don't mind the athlete or the artist activist, but I do know that if you put it out there, it may come back to bite you.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, that the first, we put too much emphasis on athletes and stars, too much. Secondly, the reality is that stars do their best, especially black stars, depending on who they are, do their best to be appealing to everyone. As a black star, You have to be jovial, non-confrontational,
Mm-hmm.
and never give them room to think twice about who your character is.
Right.
So you got to play a character. If you want to make 500, 800, 300 million dollars in your lifetime, you got to play a character. Will Smith was playing a character his whole entire career because that was the character that was going to get him millions. Right? What happened at the awards, no matter what he says, how he says it, that's a man that was traumatized on public TV by his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought by going up there and striking Chris Rock, he was going to look like a strong individual. I'm defending my wife. Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what he did. I'm defending my wife. Any of you would have done the same thing. You know how you know that relationship was rocky and traumatic? If you're married, I don't care if your wife don't like you. You're on national TV. You're worth $300 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have you seen a black woman tell you, sit your ass down and don't embarrass us in front of these white folks?
Yep.
Sit your ass down and act like you got some common sense. Act like you got some home training.
Mm-hmm.
He got up and walked to the stage, and she sat there and laughed after he was smacked.
Right.
What does that tell you about her? And she walked away scot-free.
Yep.
Nobody said a word. But in the black community, what are we always talking about? The black women are always protecting the black men.
Mm-hmm.
The black women are our saviors. And for the most part, they are. But here's a black woman who celebrates being black and wears her head wraps and always wants to let you know that she's unapologetically a black woman, watched her black husband go up on national TV and smack a man and ruin himself for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because no matter what you tell me, he's ruined for at least the next 4 or 5 years.
No, I definitely agree with you on that.
He's going to have to take a slow. What he's going to have to do is take his money and start some sort of a production company that doesn't have his name tied to it. So when the productions go through, people might see him on set, but they won't know how he's connected. Oh, he's friends with the director. He's not involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are not going to want to be associated with his name.
No, that's real true. And that raises two interesting questions I'd love to hear your thoughts about. One is, speaking of another sister that has not been getting a lot of love lately. As a matter of fact, apparently she appeared at the tournament rooting on her alma mater and was booed. Of course, she was in the plains part of the country because I think she was at a game in either Iowa. And of course, they were playing Kansas and all of that. But what is your thoughts around the future of Kamala? And does Kamala get a pass because of her interracial relationship aspect of her life as well? Because definitely the first husband is a white gentleman and everything. But I'm just wondering your take on that whole relationship and Kamala as a leader. Because some people say that she's only one heartbeat away and Joe ain't exactly a spring chicken from being the president and everything. And then there are a lot of folks that are like, she's not ready for the job.
Well, she's not ready for the job. But then again, a lot of people that are vice presidents are not ready for the job. Dan Quayle, could you have really imagined when Dan Quayle was in office that he was going to be that great of a president if he was put in position? So in one defense of her, we've had a lot of goofy ass vice presidents that we knew we didn't want to see that asshole in the chair, right? Yeah. You can't spell potato. I don't want to see you in that chair.
That is true.
Right?
That's true. Yeah.
With that being the case, moving away from there, she was put in order to get votes to say, hey, look, black people, we're getting one of you in the seat. You know, we've got a black woman. This is the highest she's going to get. We're going to help sleepy ass Joe get this nomination. Is what it is. Yeah, I don't like Joe Biden. I ain't like Trump. But America, Every Trump supporter goes, look, they're not hurting your feelings anymore. It has nothing to do with feelings. America was tired of being gaslit every damn day.
Yeah.
Trump took any opportunity to gaslight people and to tell people, I'm better than you. Had the nerve to say, I'm the president, respect me, but treated respect as I learned it is a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
If I came into your house and took a dump in every room in your house and walked out your house and said, you better respect me, how dumb do I look?
Yeah, none of that. You're probably gonna get knocked out, or actually maybe even worse than knocked out, and all of that. And then I would probably get beat up if I didn't take care of that.
Under the protection of the United States government, Trump took a dump on anyone that didn't go with his politics.
Yeah,
took a royal dump, and when he lost, made up a lie. Made up a lie and spread that lie. There is no matter of fact, in his own people, when they did recounts, he lost by a bigger number.
Yep. No doubt about that. What do you say to those folks that would make the argument? I've heard the argument.
Hold on for a second.
Yeah.
So my point is, we need to stop playing this game that everybody that gets in these positions are ready for the position. Sometimes people don't champion the position until they're in it, and then they rise to the occasion.
That makes a lot of sense.
Kamala, unfortunately, as a black woman in that position as vice president, they didn't want to see a black woman in that. Half of America didn't want to see a black woman in that high of a position in a heartbeat away.
Yeah.
I think intentionally they had to kind of keep her to the back burner. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They kind of had to keep her. They kind of had it because it was like, listen, if she's out here talking shit, it's going to go down. Not saying it's right, but you know what I mean.
No, I definitely know what you mean. And that's one of the things I was wondering about is you have some folks that will make the parallel between Trump and Obama because they will say that both of them were frustrated with the system as it exists, because we do have folks that have been in those offices forever and a day, and that they were both kind of the answer on opposite extremes, one on the left maybe, or more on the left, one definitely far on the right, that there is a number of people in the United States that are frustrated by politics as usual. So they see both of them as an answer to politics as usual and getting away from politics as usual.
Trump was the answer to, we had a black guy in office and I didn't like the idea of having a black guy in office. So I'm going to vote this guy that is completely unfit to be president as an FU to the country.
That's an interesting idea. What do you say to those people that think that is, because, you know, there's a slight possibility, I don't think it's a big possibility, but that we could have two women running against each other if Kamala runs against Nikki Haley, and Nikki Haley is the long shot. And so there are people that would love to see Pete run, but, you know, I don't know.
Kamala Harris is not
for a gay person.
Kamala Harris is not going to run for president. She ain't ready to run for president. And Pete Buttigieg, or whatever his name is, he won't win because ain't nobody want to find out that there's two gay men in the highest office having sex. Ain't gonna happen. America still has a problem with people having a lifestyle that is not normal to them. Yeah. I'm not saying homosexuality is not normal. I'm saying that America as a whole they've already had a black president. Whoa, that's too far. Too far. You're allowing them in the highest seat because remember, this is how asshole-ish Trump was. Everybody has known for years that the White House has had a rat and rodent problem. Mm-hmm. That was not a hidden thing. But presidents don't speak about it when they're elected because you still want to give the White House this prestige, right? What did Trump do? When I came in, I didn't believe how bad of a shape this house was. There's rats and rodents everywhere. Why did he say that? Because he tries to put the image that black people don't know how to keep a house.
Yep.
See, I don't care what you tell me up here. I pay attention to the little things because it's the little things that deliver the message. So if he's saying this on the low and the people that catch it, the ignorant people are like, see, we let the black people in and look how they kept the White House, because they're not aware of the comings and goings. But the White House has been a piece of crap. Before Clinton was in office, they complained about the rats and the rodents.
No, and that's what I was going to ask about, because like I said, I did want to give you an opportunity to shine on some of that comedy ability as well, but I do have a serious question to ask as well. So I'm guessing that Socks, because that was Clinton's cat, was having a field day over there in the White House, because, you know, cats do love their rats and rodents, and Socks was the White House first pet and everything.
Socks was leaving mouses at Clinton's front door to his bedroom after he took the cigar out of Monica Lewinsky. Like, I got a party favor for you. Look, I'm just saying.
So he left the party favor of the mouse over there after he was doing what he was doing with Monica. I got you. Hey, they were having their regular party.
He ain't got to worry about getting into the fumidors. He didn't have to worry about Socks getting into the fumidors. Socks was too busy with them damn mouse.
Yeah, no, that's right. Socks was having way too much fun. The curious question I was going to ask you, to come down to ownership, we mentioned that when I mentioned the real estate thing. There is an owner, and you know he was a fantastic player, but apparently he's not a fantastic owner, because he's thinking about selling the rights to the club that he had. So I guess that not everybody that is a fantastic player is going to be a fantastic owner, because I had read earlier today that Michael Jordan is thinking about selling the parts of the Hornets that he had been owning, and he was, I want to say, majority owner at one time or another. So I guess just because you are what many people consider the GOAT in the NBA doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a successful business person, and we do know he's had some other business issues as well.
Here's the reality. You are not at any point ever guaranteed to be successful as a team owner just because, or a coach, just because you played the game. Michael Jordan's obsessive nature for winning did not prepare him to be a winning owner, because when you're that obsessed, when you're OCD that obsessed, you think the only way to win is your way.
Right.
That's it. You know what I mean? But I will tell you, I think Michael Jordan also did what he did as a business maneuver.
Right.
Just think about it. He bought in at 275. He's going to sell out at like 1.7 bill. So he's going to sell. And think about it. He still makes about, I think, $75 to $80 million a year from Nike alone.
Mm-hmm.
He's the highest earning athlete who's retired. He makes more money in retirement than a lot of players do at the peak, and still earn. They what do they say? If I could be like Mike.
Yep, no doubt. If I could be like Mike, and somebody that was like another icon, that's why he got his name and everything, and I've admired him, and he did win one NBA championship, and I was really hoping that he would win another one, but I'm not really feeling that they're playing well together, but hey, maybe they'll surprise me. Because mentioned earlier, I did go to Marquette, and I was there at the time of Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers and me would have graduated in the same class if he hadn't gone hardship and if I hadn't waited an extra semester. So I think we were both scheduled to graduate in '84. And like I said, he did win that championship with the Boston Celtics. And I just don't know what's going on with them 76ers. They got all them all-star players, but they don't seem to be able to work together. And right now, I think they're either a third or a fourth seed. I'm not sure where they are, but they're definitely not the top seeds.
Here's the thing that I believe. In our age group, there was a drastic change in the type of player mentality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one thing you could say about Michael Jordan, if he could play, he played.
Right.
He didn't take days off. He didn't, body management or whatever they call it, stress.
Load management, which makes no sense to me.
Load management is what you say on a machine that is starting to die off.
Right.
Load management is what you say on a washing machine.
Right.
Hey, don't overload the washing machine. It might break.
Right.
Load management for players that are making $100 million over a lifetime of their career. You're telling me that now they need load management? They need to not play every game? And I get it. Some of these guys want to play 20 years. Some of these guys are like, I want to play as long as I can because they don't see themselves doing anything else. So why not get your 20 years in? Like in corporate America, what I would have done in corporate America. You know what I mean? Do your 20, 25 years and leave. Okay, maybe. But does that mean that the level of the game just isn't as important to them? Yeah. Are these championships as important? Are these championships as good? See what I'm saying?
But it's not just on the NBA level. Like I said, I am a fan and have been a fan even since my own college days of the NCAA basketball and all in that space. But that whole transfer portal, I mean, that might as well be like load management because, you know, you turn around and there are players that are playing for 4 or 5 teams. And I guess that's their way of trying to get to be that 1% that we alluded to earlier. Because, you know, there are a couple of players that sounds like when they're given their descriptions, like they played for Holy Cross, they played for Villanova, and now they're playing for whoever. So they're like, you know, doing that whole transfer portal thing. As a matter of fact, I think one of the guards for UNC, because I'm not that far here in Durham from Chapel Hill, is getting ready to enter that portal. And I do know that both Duke and UNC picked up players from Marquette in that whole transfer portal thing. So there's a whole notion of like just doing the regular free agency in the college level.
Yes, you are not wrong by any means, any stretch of the imagination. You're not wrong. The problem in the college level is, on a basketball level, it's one and done.
Right.
Or if I go to this school, I know I can be a starter, but if I'm at this school, I'm a bench player.
Right.
And where did that come from? Which is why they try to hide it for the longest time, and they didn't want it to happen. It's now that you could be a sponsored athlete.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a sponsored college player. There are college players now that are entering and they already have $1 million contracts because they've been able to garner attention from their YouTube channels, from their Instagram channels. So now these guys are walking in. And here's the thing. I don't care who you are. If you're making $1 million and you're 17 years old, you tell the coach to go F himself.
Yep.
You want me to do sprints? Because think about it like this. If your dad was an okay stock guy, he put you in a nice house, got you a nice car to drive when you got your license, you wearing nice clothes, but now you decided to become an athlete, and now you're signed to a contract. Let's say you're signed to a contract for $500,000, right? If your dad's an okay stock guy, your dad can leverage that 500, or your mom, whoever it is. If they know someone, they can leverage that. But by the time your 4 years are up of playing college ball,
but Marklin, it's not just the athletes, though. That's what I'm trying to figure out. How are we going to continue to encourage our kids? And like I said, I don't have anybody. I do have those 2 nephews, and should be about 3 or 4 years from them getting ready to go to college and get into corporate America. You've alluded a couple of times to your being in corporate America when they can go do a YouTube or a video channel, make millions, if not hundreds of thousands. I know that's a low percentage. It's kind of like the NBA, but there are people that are making it. And I've watched a couple of those. All they're doing is literally walking around, you know, talking about their who they're meeting for their date, going around talking about very much trivial kind of things.
You can't. Corporate America. First of all, if you're black, corporate America is where you go to die.
Right.
I don't care if anyone out there watching this, oh, I've had a successful career. No, you had a successful career of acting.
Mm-hmm.
You had to pretend to be somebody because everyone is always in shock. Because think about it. Think about how many people are so invested in corporate America that they're like, yo, don't put up that video camera on my birthday. Yeah. I don't want people to see what I do in my private life because they're acting when they go to work, right? Because if they want to keep getting that check, they got to act a certain way.
Right.
What's going on is, and this happened to me, and I'm going to be honest with you, I never felt that way. I was an outspoken black guy. Nobody wants an outspoken black guy. I've actually had a lady tell me at one of my past jobs, she said it, Marklin, it's not that you're not a team player. It's just that if you were being mistreated, we knew you would just speak up, and we don't want any black person that's going to speak up. She was as real as it came. She was like, you were going to speak up. Nobody wants some. We saw it. We would see you speak up when stuff didn't make sense. We don't want that. We want to, this is our plan. You're going to ride with our plan, and that's it. And that's cool because some people don't have a personality. Some people don't have a brain to do anything else. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. I'm struggling. I ain't gonna lie to people. I wrote 2 books. I do stand-up comedy. I host shows. I do podcasts. I do a lot and make nothing.
Right.
But I'm trying. I'm trying to figure out how to do this shit. Excuse me. I'm keeping the F-bombs out of it.
So that's okay. I don't mind. Like I said, the network doesn't mind either because even a couple of our owners have dropped it. And actually, one of them, Kim, has kind of reclaimed a word because definitely she will use that word that is associated with a female dog, and she will use it as a acronym and spell out what it means to her and all in that space. And I know that we've done the same thing with the N word, and there are a couple of other words.
So the reality, the way I look at it, in all honesty, the way I look at it in the bigger sense of it, the way I feel about the world, the country, and everything like that, these kids are not prepared to sit in 4 walls. If I'm a 50-year-old man and told you sitting in these 4 walls, I just did it because it was a check.
Right. And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're trying to get from paycheck to paycheck. That's why they call it paycheck to paycheck.
And my thing is, you just dig yourself a hole because you're so miserable trying to find other things to do. Let me tell you something. When I started making, for a while, I was making money doing this, right? Mm-hmm. I had saved so much money because I loved what I was doing and I was so consumed with it. I wasn't thinking about spending the money. But when I was miserable, and it's funny, I like saying this now. This is why I love interviews, because sometimes when you talk to people, you kind of figure out where your shit was, right? Mm-hmm. I was so miserable working in corporate America that it wasn't that I couldn't save money. I didn't care to save money because I hated my job. So I would go out and spend it partying and drinking and doing anything to nullify my brain because I hated working.
But I mean, isn't part of the problem that the work environment hasn't changed? Because one of the things I get
in 100 years, it ain't changed. Look at the video, look at the movies or the TV shows from the 1950s when colored TV came into place and they started showing people in the workplace the same types of office, the same type of managers, same type of assistants, same type of workers, same types. It's the same shit. They haven't caught up. You know why they haven't caught up?
Can we even go further back than that? Because one of the jokes, and I don't think that it is all that far from reality, is that if you go to certain kinds of corporations, what is the nickname for that corporation? A lot of times people will say that they're going to the plantation. And if you look at the jobs and you look at the way they're structured, they look just like a plantation. And
that's how the
Europeans are mostly in charge, European males in the executive level, and it's mostly us down there doing the cooking, the janitorial work, the security work, and all of that other stuff. So it looks just like the plantation of the 17th and the 18th centuries.
And every now and then, a couple of us will make it to the top because we knew what to do. We knew who to talk to. We knew how to swing it, and that's cool. The reality is, even the American education system was built around, we only want so many people to be thinkers.
Right.
We're trying to get, it became a system, just like what they talk about in the urban areas. It's the school to prison system.
Right.
A lot of the schools look like prisons. If you see the way they're designed, they look like prisons without all the gates, but they look like prisons, right?
Yep.
But the same thing, if you think about corporate America, what is one of the things that they grade you on in school? Has the ability to sit and listen.
Right.
But not everybody has the ability to sit and listen. And here's the deal. If corporate America really cared about people, they would do tests to see where people accelerate at.
Don't even go on to me on the test thing, because that's one of the jobs that I have that is outside of my art and media work, is working for a testing company, and we know that a lot of times those tests can be structured in such a way
Oh,
to
yeah.
actually
But
make
if you
them
see-
give
if
the
you
results that
see
they want
someone
to
like
get.
me, if you see someone like me and you see I have the gift of gab,
Mhm.
right? Why wouldn't you say versus trying to penalize him and keep him in a position he can't grow?
Right.
If we want to look good to the Black community and to the other people, you know what, Marklin? We don't think that this is a good position for you. Let's see if we can find you a position either in sales
Mhm.
or in video, because we see that that's where your skill set is, right?
Yeah.
You've got the gift of gab. Maybe if we trained you how to present our product the right way by putting you into it, that's what corporate America is doing wrong.
You know,
They don't care. What they care about is this is our mission. We want people to carry out our position, but they don't want our mission. They don't want people who can literally think outside the box of their mission. They want people to say, this is the mission, think inside of here. And they're only going to give so many people an opportunity to move up that ladder. We disappear as you move up the ladder.
Right. No,
And
no doubt. We definitely disappear and all in that sense. But definitely, the one thing you brought up that I was curious about is the notion of sales, because I know that a lot of people don't think they're good at sales. I don't think that I'm all that great at sales, even though I have to sell, even getting folks like you to be guests and everything. And I know some other friends of mine that don't see of ourselves as being master salespeople either, because a lot of times when you think of sales, you think of certain industries that have given sales a bad reputation. I think about the insurance industry and the car industry, and there are a few other ones as well. So at what point did you accept the fact that you were a salesperson, and how much of a salesperson do you feel that you are?
So I sell people to produce comedy shows.
Right.
So let's say I came down to North Carolina, right?
Mhm.
And first of all, salespeople see an opportunity all the time,
Right.
right? I came down to North Carolina. You took me to a restaurant. My first, if I look in, I'm like, yo, we could do a comedy show. Hey, can I talk to your manager?
Right.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Marklin. I produce comedy shows. I got a question. Have you ever done a comedy show here? Comedy's kind of tough. People, we don't always. I said, no. You tell me what type of comedy show you want, and I'll get the comedy show here. If you want it family friendly, we'll get you a family friendly comedy show. We vet the comics. We
Right.
know that the comics only do that. Oh, really? You mean not every comic's going to tell dirty jokes? Bro, there's a room for clean comics. I'm not a clean comic, but I know how to produce a show.
Right.
So you want to talk about it? Oh, but how long is it going to be? How much is it going to cost? Well, let's talk about it real quick. How often do you want to do a show? If you do it every week, it's going to just start to get deteriorated quickly.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it once a month, you're going to get some buzz. If you do it every other week, you could really create something. I don't know, how much is it going to cost me? Well, what do you want to do? You want to do ticket sales? Or do you want to do a flat rate for a while and see what we can do? Because if we do a flat rate, you're going to have to pay me a certain rate. And that rate is not a guarantee, because if you're not marketing with me and depending on me to do the marketing, you're paying me to produce the show.
Right.
You're not paying for me to market. You're paying for me to produce a show. That's what production is.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to market it, you've got to pay me extra money to market,
Right.
because comics need to make money.
Yeah.
Every comic that steps on stage, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah, this is a skill set. I'm not going to bring up some floozy comic that just wants to do weekend trailer park talk.
Mhm.
Nothing against people in trailer parks, but I'm just saying, you don't want some guy that gets drunk and talks crap, hanging out and says, oh, I'm a comic now. That's not what it is. This is trained. We go on stages. We do open mics. We write jokes. We test them. This is a philosophy. Oh, I never knew that. Yeah, this is something listen, here's my website. Here's all my references. Here's all the references of shows I produced. Tell me, would you like to do one? You know what? I can't talk to you. Let me talk to my partners and let me get back to you. Where's your card? Here's my card. Let me get your card. I'll follow you up with a week. How do I know that worked? I just walked into a business last night in New York City. We already worked out a 50-50 deal, plus part of the bar, plus part of the credit card sales, and how much it's going to cost for a DJ, etc. in New York City.
Wow.
Because I know my business.
Yeah, but how many people go into businesses in general and don't even have an understanding of what the business is, what the business plan is, or even how to do it? Because I know I've been involved even in some events, and everybody is thinking that it's going to be the thing that is going to be their shining star, or the thing that's going to give them that shine that they want and everything. But a lot of times they are good on the, they call it show business for a reason. It sounds like you're very good on the business aspect, but there are a lot of people that are good on the show aspect, not as good on the business aspect. And
I'm still learning the business aspect, but here's the reality. Everybody wants to laugh.
Right.
If you team up with me and you market the hell out of it on your end, let's say you've got a Facebook page with 17,000 people, right? If on marketing terms, every time you put it out, 10% of the people are going to see that, right? Yeah. Every time you sell it, 17 but 10% are going to see it. So let's say average out, you push it out 3 times a week at different times that you got a comedy show. We plan it out a month and a half. Every week, 3 days, different days, you're pushing it, right? Every week for 4 weeks. Out of that 17,000, I guarantee you at least 60 to 70 people are going to come walking through that door because they all want to laugh. Right. They all want to laugh. Now the 60, 70 people come and they're laughing, from the host to the opener to the feature to the headliner, laughing. Right? Hey, I want you guys to do me a favor. Tag yourself here. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. I actually need you to do me a favor. Go live right now on your phones and just say comedy at the Republic, comedy here or wherever we're at. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, you were having a fun time at that comedy. Yeah. What happens? Now you take all the pictures, you post it on their page. You missed it out. This place holds 150. You should come out to the next one. Hey, I'll tell you what, I got this rock star guy that's really good. I'll tell you what, give me an extra 200 because I know what he's going to ask. And if you give me this, he's going to bring at least 20 people with him because 20 people go everywhere he goes. You're going to put 20 people in the butts in the seats for $200? Yep. That costs $10 a head. These people are going to end up buying $35, $40 worth of food, drinks, and everything.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What do you say to those folks, and I'm going to wind down shortly and everything, but what do you say to those folks that are looking at the land of motivational speakers and the land of coaches in general, and they're going like, man, it seems like everybody and their mother is a motivational speaker and a coach, and maybe we've gotten to the saturation point with these, because I know that there's everybody from the health coach to the business coach to the life coach to the relationship coach. And I'm not saying that we don't need coaching, because we all need coaching in one form or fashion, but I do know that there are some folks that are feeling coached out, for lack of a better term.
Here's the thing. Everyone told me I should call myself a coach. I'm not a coach.
Right.
I've got a crazy ass life, and I ain't going to coach you. I wrote a book. Hold on for a second. It's called Lessons from a Shit Talker.
Right.
You guys can find it on Amazon. It's called Lessons from a Shit Talker. There it is. I'm going to put it up there. And if you open it up, chapter 5, fear. Forget everything and rise. Mm-hmm. I'm not coaching you. I'm telling you what I had to do. Chapter 4, goals. Go out and learn something. I'm not plugging, but I'm telling you, chapter 2, who are you?
Right.
You got to know who you are before you start. You got to know what you want, where you want to go, what you want to do, why you want to do it. Why are you there? Chapter 3, know what you want. That's not coaching. This is simple shit that everybody needs to know every day to acquire anything you want. If you decide that you want to start flipping homes on a small scale, why do you want to flip homes? Because you want to turn a $10,000 profit? Well, what do you plan on doing with that money?
Right.
When I tell you that I'm a motivational speaker, see, everybody wants to hire the guy that speaks anti-bully, anti-homophobia, and that's great. But you're killing these kids because you're just talking about those subjects. You're not motivating them.
Right.
You're not asking them what they want. Hey, Billy, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a doctor, but I don't know if my family can afford it. You know, Billy, they have a lot of resources for you to learn how to be a doctor. You don't have to just learn here in the United States. You can actually go overseas.
And you might not even have to go to college at all. I mean, one of my good friends is actually one of the top experts in the field of augmented reality and virtual reality, and she did not complete her college degree and all in that space. So you don't necessarily have to be in that field in order to have an expertise. You can develop the skill and learn the skill and things in that space.
And you're right. I'm not going to disagree with you. The reality is the disgusting part of it all that a lot of people don't understand. The disgusting part that a lot of people don't understand, that when I say I'm a motivational speaker, you can go to my webpage, marklandspeaks.com, and you could go down a list. I cater towards the person I'm talking to. I just did a speech the other day for Rotary Club because they were like, how can we get more youth involved?
Right.
I'm an old school motivational speaker. You tell me what the problem is. I want to give you a real solution. I'm not some guy that's just coming up here trying to collect a check. And here's the problem. And somebody told me this a while ago. They said, listen, they don't want you to solve the problem. They just want to say that they threw some money at it and tried to solve it. I'm solution based.
No, you got to be solution based.
I got a compliment the other day by the superintendent of one of the school of a school I spoke at, because when I went to go speak about racism, one of the problems they had was the kids using the N-word. And I made a simple solution. How about nobody's allowed to say the N-word on campus at all? No excuses. Zero-sum game. You're caught, you're suspended. Period.
Right.
Teach the lesson. Stop the slapping on the wrist. Stop the in-school suspension. You say the N-word, you say any derogatory word towards any other kid, you're out. Not expelled, but just suspended.
They suspended totally. Well, you know, and it's actually a Republican-based legislation. They're thinking about doing that here, not so much with the N-word, but I don't know what you think about this, but they are talking about making civics mandatory. So they want them to read Letters from the Birmingham Jail, which of course is that famous book from Martin Luther King, Think the Federalist Papers, as well as the Gettysburg Address, and there might be one or two other things, but you will be required to basically pass a proficiency test if you're going to get a college degree from any of the state-supported universities and or community colleges.
Bullshit. I shouldn't. First of all, Letters from Birmingham is a black man telling you his plight of trying to get equal rights for his people.
Right.
Abraham Lincoln didn't like black people. He freed us because he said, if that will save the Union, I'm willing to do it. But let it be understood, I never believe black people are equal to white men. The guy wrote this for you to read. I don't understand. It's what kills me about Republicans, and I believe this, and I'm sorry. They think we're too stupid to realize what they are doing, and that we're too stupid to realize the shit that they're saying.
Right.
Oh, he's ignorant. He don't know shit. I can read. I can comprehend. Don't tell, oh, well, Lincoln, like when Donald Trump said, I've done more for African Americans since Lincoln, Lincoln ain't really done shit. He freed us. Congratulations. He also promised 40 acres and a mule. Some people say it was never really promised, but we never got it.
Never got it at all. But then there's also some conversations and some of those Republicans that will swear up and down that he did more for the HBCUs than any of the past presidents, including Obama. And I haven't done enough study to figure out what he exactly did for the HBCUs.
So for those of you watching, I'm going to explain to you what he did for the HBCUs. Every president, every year, signs off and says, I agree that so much funding from the American government is going to go to the HBCUs. It increases accordingly to inflation. 2%, 4%, 5%, whatever it is. He just made it a law so that you no longer have to sign. Right? That's all he did. He said, oh, they're going to love me. I'm just going to make it a law that it has to happen and nobody has to sign for it. The money's allocated every year because it looks good on paper. Then the very Pell Grants that many of the HBCUs and their students rely on, he took away.
Yep.
So it looks good on paper because they announce it up here, but they don't tell you that they took away those Pell Grants. They keep it on the subline.
Mm-hmm.
So you're yelling this, but you're ignoring this. And the minute you say that to them, see, here's where the ignorance of it all comes. When you're so arrogant that somebody can tell you something that literally proves what you're saying is wrong, and you can't even be humble enough to be like, damn, I didn't know that. Because you've purchased the bullshit for so long that anybody that tells your arrogance, that you're like, what I always say to people is, the real racism is the people that think they're smarter because they're white.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
When you think you're smarter than me because you're white, that's the problem.
No, definitely.
When I look at the people that are smarter than me, I don't care if you're black, white, gay, trans, whatever the hell you are. You're just smarter than me.
Right.
Period.
That makes a lot of sense. What do you say about those people that are looking at a celebrity that made it as president, namely Trump, and saying, hey, we'll have our own version? Because, there's some people that are very serious about putting Kanye out as president. And I'm going like, I don't think we're ready for President Kanye.
I just want to say Trump won that election. Trump won that election, y'all. He was like, stop it. Ain't nobody going to vote for Kanye. No. Let me tell you something. No one thinks Kanye is a viable guy. He's not. He does all this crap because it's marketing. It's genius. Notice when he said Adidas won't fire me, I can say whatever the hell I want. They fired him, but he leveraged it. You know why? Adidas ended up signing him back for another $1 billion because they was losing sales. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to leverage myself out of the contract because he wasn't making money on the contract. They were copying his shoe and selling it at a lower price and making all the money. So he said, I'm going to talk myself out of the contract. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to talk myself out of the contract. And then when they sign me again, I'm going to get all the money. And I'll look crazy. See, people like Kanye, when they hang around people like Trump, no matter what you say, Trump is the genius of con men. Mm-hmm. The reason why he's no longer looked at the genius of it is because Trump did something that other con men didn't do. He tried to fuck the the government. Sorry, hate to use the language, but that's literally what he did.
Right.
He tried to tell the American government, you can't touch me. I'm untouchable. The American government then said, oh, is that right? Well, now all the stuff that we've been looking at and ignoring, because the government ignores but so much.
Right.
You can steal 100 mil, but if you brag about stealing 100 mil, they're going to ding you for at least 20 mil.
Right.
Because if it looks like you stole 100 mil from them, people are going to say, how long you been stealing money from us?
Well, hasn't he been stealing money forever? Because he was stealing money from his tenants at his different real estate places and all along those lines. But the question
not one real estate company in America does business with Trump. Not one.
I can believe that and everything.
Not one. It's all foreign entities. And it's foreign entities that he was doing business with still when he became president. Jared Kushner, whatever his name is, got a $2 billion injection of money from the Saudis when Trump struck that deal to keep the cost of oil down. He told the Saudis to cut production to drop the price of oil, right? Mm-hmm. Why? Because it made him look great. Yep. And he knew if he was elected, he could keep it there.
Yep.
He knew if he lost and it goes back up, Joe Biden would get the blame. even though the deal created a false bottom value of oil. Because they lowered production, oil was not being sold at its normal level. We were all sitting at home doing nothing. So because there was less people on the roads globally, it made sense to drop production. But they didn't want to drop production. Then Trump said, hey, remember those tanks you want? Remember those jets you want? How about we cut you a deal and we give you some of that and you cut the price of oil? He's a businessman. He wheels and deals, but he wheels and deals for him and how he looks. He didn't do that for America. He did it for him.
I definitely believe that. And there's some wheelers and dealers throughout the White House and throughout politics in general and everything. Hey, Marklin, do you think that either Nikki or Tim Scott stand a chance of being president? Because there are of the other ones, Nikki is running on brown pride, and she's definitely claiming some of her Indian heritage and all in that space. And of course, Tim Scott is that brother from South Carolina that may be or may not be entering, but at least they're both in politics, unlike Kanye. Kanye is just
I'm gonna tell you this. First of all, my family is related to that dude.
Oh, okay.
He comes from an area, I think Florence or Lake City, South Carolina. My family's related to because he looks just like my cousin Dwayne. My cousin Dwayne and him look like twin brothers.
Okay.
Right. And I said that to my cousin Dwayne, and he smacked me through my FaceTime. Like he was like, bro, I don't, because nobody wants to be associated with that coonery.
Right.
You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be associated with that level. Like, I don't care if you're black and you're Republican, but have a sense of pride and stop acting like like you can't think for yourself.
Right.
You could be black, be a Republican, and say, yeah, but racism is still a problem.
Right.
It's not hard to do that, right? With that being said, Tim Scott don't stand a chance because the Republicans will do what they did to Herman Cain. Oh, he makes a lot of good points. Oh, he says some really good stuff. Tim Scott just got caught making a pass at a white woman. Yeah, down goes Tim Scott. That's what they did to Herman Cain.
Yep.
The minute Herman Cain started winning, the minute Herman Cain started, making waves, oh my God. Rumor has it Herman Cain got caught sexually harassing somebody in office. And what happened? Oh, well, I'm going to have to bow out, but I'm really not gone. I'm going to introduce the 999 tax deal.
Right. Taxes
are going to be $999 every year. Like they give you some bullshit stuff that won't work.
Well, I mean, did they do that? And either that or they have some political things going on, because as you were saying, I was thinking about Clarence Thomas and the fact that he should have reclused himself from certain kind of cases because his wife was very much involved in some of those things that were being impacted by the decisions that he was making. But last time I checked, he hadn't reclused himself yet and everything.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
The New York, no, I'm sorry, please pardon me for a second. If you think about it like this, and I'm just trying to make sure I get my thoughts in one.
Right.
The Supreme Court is supposed to be non-political.
Supposed to be. Right.
But what do you see the president's doing? I'm voting in people that will vote according to politics.
Uh-huh.
The biggest, first of all, Supreme Court should be term limits, period.
Right.
I say 15 years, you're out.
Right.
15 years, you're out. That's it. After serving for 15 years, you're out.
Probably need to do that for Congress as well, but that's a whole nother story.
And Congress the same way. All of them. 15, I think 2 terms and you're done. 2 terms, you're out. No more.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, anytime somebody is using political talking points to defend a decision that impacts thousands of people, that person needs to be no longer allowed to make decisions.
Right.
Because if you believe, see, the problem is, and I'm going to say this loud for those of you
in the back of the room,
paying attention. people in the back of the room. Black people are reading the Constitution. Asian people are reading the Constitution. Chinese people, Indian people, every immigrant that comes here is reading the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
And they're asking if everything's free and we're using the Constitution. I'm just saying the Constitution says freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans, and sadly, too many Americans are using their feelings and emotions
Wow.
of how they feel about other people to pass legislation. That's why, I keep seeing this from therapists and from friends that are therapists and friends of mine that I talk. What people tell you usually is what they think about themselves, and they're not thinking about it. Every time a Republican calls me a sheep, I always say to them, it's a damn shame you're using Republican talking points and calling me a sheep.
Yeah.
Who's the sheep?
Yeah, exactly. Who's doing the sheep work and who's not doing the sheep work?
You're using Republican talking points and calling me a sheep. If you're not a sheep, you wouldn't use those talking points.
Right.
That's one, right? 2, if you believe that all Americans are free, then why are you trying to tell women what they can do with their bodies?
Right.
That's not your body.
Mm-mm.
You don't have a right. You when a woman turns 18, you have no right as an adult to tell her what to do with her body.
No, exactly.
Saying that it's murder, okay, in your mind it's murder. Guess what? It's none of your fucking business.
Right.
It's not.
No, not at all.
And it's just like it's none of my business who you vote for.
Right.
I could sit here, drink beers with you, talk shit, look at Playboy magazines, talk about all these good-looking girls, ugly girls, and whatever, right? And we could get along. And then the minute you find out I'm a Democrat and I'm voting the Democratic way, which I'm not a Democrat, I'm an independent, because there's Republicans I would vote for.
Right.
But the point is, the minute you start talking that, now you don't like me?
Well, I mean, and then you got people that are making decisions based on things that they may not understand that are against the law, but technically against the law. But there are people that still practice it in everything. Because, like I said, you got people that will make judgments about people and what they're doing in their bedroom when there are very active swinger communities and there are even very active polyamory communities, even though technically that's supposed to be against the law. But there is definitely people that are even practicing it in states where it is against the law. But it's not like you're going to knock on their door and find out that they got 2 wives or 3 wives or 3 husbands or whatever. So I do know that it is being practiced by different parts of society, even in places that it is technically not legal and all in that way.
Book banning.
Mm-hmm.
We thought book banning was in a Footloose movie and that's it.
Yep.
I'm turning it loose, Footloose. We thought it was a movie.
Right.
Here we are in 2023, and we're discussing book banning.
Yep. Folks are banning books that we thought were safe, like banning Catcher in the Rye and Mark Twain and some other books.
You're banning African American studies.
Right.
In a state that is heavily populated by Black people, you're banning and claiming, because they've got some literature about being gay.
Well, that's that, but because they call it critical race theory. Isn't critical race theory nothing but just one, I thought critical race theory was a higher academic field and everything.
It is.
Like above college. And then also, isn't it really just a teaching of a aspect of history? And I would think we would want to study all aspects of our history and not just one aspect of it.
Critical race theory is their calling card to say we don't want our kids. And I figured it out the other day, and I was having this conversation with someone. They don't want their kids to have empathy for Black people or any person of color, and that's what it is. It's not about the history, because eventually their kids are going to learn it some way, somehow. It's about the empathy. When you learn about what people have experienced, you start to empathize with their story. You start looking at where they're at and how they're still there, and the things that are impeding them and the stuff that is stopping them.
Isn't that like tilting at Markland? Isn't that like tilting at windmills though? Because the last time I checked, and it is I love my blues, but I do love some of my R&B and hip hop. And the last time I checked, if you go down the streets of Durham, I'm sure it's the same over there in New Jersey and everything. And you hear somebody, putting on their car and that they are bumping the latest tunes of the hottest hip hop artists and everything. And then you turn around and look at who's driving the car. A lot of times it's not our brothers and sisters that are driving it. It's little Miss Buffy and it's maybe Mr. Sam.
I saw an argument the other day where the guy said hip hop. No, it was a woman. She said hip hop is the detriment to the black community. And I told her, one, you're wrong for this reason. Most of the people listening to hip hop are white people.
Right, exactly.
The reason why Dr. Dre, Jay-Z, and all these guys have become billionaires is because when they're going to Podunk, Kentucky has like a 3% population of black people, right? Kentucky is majority white people.
Yes.
If I'm doing a concert series and I'm as big as Jay-Z, as big as hell, let's move away from that. I'm Michael Jackson. 85 to 90% of the people in the audience are white.
Well, I just told you I'm a big blues fan. We used to work. We took it off the not doing it now because of the pandemic, but it may come back not this year, but next year. But we had at one of our it was actually the original home of the Bull Durham or the Durham Bulls and everything before, which is where Bull Durham came out of the movie. But it was the original home of the Durham Bulls. And definitely I would say that a good, like you said, about 70-80% of that audience was probably majority white that was there listening to that blues music. And that's going to be seen in blues concerts, jazz concerts, a number of other kinds of concerts of music that is traditionally ours.
I think where we're at right now is just basically America is basically actually coming to grips with its racist past. And this is why kids need to be motivated, because kids need to be motivated to say, we do have to look past somebody's skin color.
Right.
We do have to realize that there's more to us but our skin color, but we can't ignore the experiences of people in this country. We can't ignore the experiences that black people are having. We can't, people always say, why don't we ever see Asian people complaining? Because Asian people have, first of all, they've studied and they're like, if we complain, they're going to kill us.
Good point.
Look what they did during the civil rights when they was complaining. Look what they do now.
Well, and not that, but I was thinking about I know there's talk about us getting ready to enter a third one, but I'm thinking about World War II. We dumped a bomb when we got mad at the Japanese, and it was right there on Japan, and they have recovered from it economically because they are a major economic power, but it took them a long time to bounce back from the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
This country, unfortunately, will always have a underlying racist, sexist, xenophobic attitude, because people always want to think they're better than others based on arbitrary shit.
But I mean, isn't the other thing that is what they defend the Asian population as is that they are very much of an insulated population. So some people will do what you just said. They'll say, look, the Asians have made it. Look at how many Asian corporate heads they are. And one of the things that I always think about is a lot of times they are the elite of the elite coming here to the United States. And a lot of times they are coming into a neighborhood that they stay in that neighborhood. And it's a very insulated neighborhood. It's not like the vast majority of them, whether they're here in Durham or New York or even California, a number of other places, are going outside of their communities. They are definitely protecting their own, for lack of a better term.
And that's the thing. And the thing is, with the black community, we've actually, for the most part, the black community has been taught to hate itself.
Right. Well, taught to hate itself, and not only hate itself, but when we have examples of it being insulated and a wonderful thing, then we are told how it was destroyed, but also told that we shouldn't be trying to recreate it. I just told you, I mentioned a couple of times that I'm in Durham, North Carolina, which is one of the homes, because there's one up there in New Jersey. I think it's Seneca, New York. And of course, everybody knows Tulsa of the Black Wall Streets. But oftentimes in our case in Durham, there was a highway that was smashed right through it. And some of our own people were some of our worst enemies because we basically sold ourselves down the river, to use that expression and everything. And we know what they did in Tulsa, they bombed it.
I want to get the money. I don't want them to get the money.
Right.
You know, like, hey, you a good boy. Why don't you come along with us and you're going to make some money?
Right.
Well, what do you mean? You come along with us, you're going to make some money.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with us, you're going to make some money.
Right.
You don't want to be with them because by the time we're done with them, they're going to be broke. But don't you want to be the guy that has all the money?
Right.
Crabs in a barrel.
Mm-hmm.
Crabs. And I tell this all the time, and people think I'm joking. Sometimes the worst people to deal with business with are other black people.
Oh, yeah.
Because black people are always looking for a way to con you out of some money or to one up you.
I'm glad you said that, because two things cross my mind. One is there's some business owners, friends of mine that talk about the entrepreneurs that are looking for the hookup, and they're looking for the hookup or things that is something that is very much common in our business world, that too many of our entrepreneurs are hookup queens and kind of along those lines. And definitely we got some folks in our community that, like you just said, they don't want to pay you what you're worth, and they want to con you out of what you deserve and not give you the worth. And then they'll be the first ones to run to other communities, even though they said that they are pro us.
I'm gonna tell you this, and then I gotta go because this is going on. This is a good conversation, by the way.
Yeah.
I just did I'm doing a show, and I just booked it, signed the contract, and everything for a sorority.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them the original deal based off the comics I knew would cut a deal for me.
Right.
I performed with them; they'll do it. They then started exploring outside of these comics, and they even asked me, well, how much is this person? How much is this person? Because they didn't like the people that I had, so I had to give them more, right? So now when I go to them and I tell them, well, this person costs this. So at the end, when I gave them the price, they said, oh, I thought that those guys were underneath your original price you gave us. I said, no, you looked outside of the scope of the comics I gave you.
Right.
I didn't tell you this was the price for any comic I put on. I said, these are the comics that will perform for this price. So to make it copacetic with them, I had to waive my hosting fee, which, a producer and a hosting fee are two different fees.
Two different fees.
So I'm producing the comedy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I'm hosting.
Right.
So I should be making $650 minimum.
Right.
Right? So I didn't even charge him that. And I had a comic tell me, he goes, dude, you too nice to these guys. I go, what? And he goes, listen, you're producing the shows and you're hosting. That's $650. Easily. Especially you got to host 100 people, 200 people, whatever. Once you go over 200, he goes, your hosting fee should be $1,200.
Right.
He goes, once you get to like 1,000 people, it should be $1,200 plus. You decide from there where you want to be at. But you shouldn't do anything under 1,000. You're basically hosting and running the show. That's you. And you're doing it for a lot of hours. That's you. That's your thing. And he made sense. What he said made 100% sense. He wasn't wrong.
No doubt about that. And like I said, I know you got to go out, and I've actually got to get ready to grab a bite to eat myself as well. But one of the things I get everybody to do at the end of the show is tell where they can be reached at, and all along those lines. So if you want to let folks know how they can reach you, learn more about you. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I have to get you back on again in the near future and all along those lines. And it is a global network, Pod TV is. So one of the things that I try to do is encourage messages of positivity and hope for our global community, because that's how we're talking about the youth. That same thing goes for our adults and everything. So I have taken it as a personal mission to try to get us all to give a message of positivity and hope to this crazy world that we live in, and all in that space. So if you tell folks how they can reach you and any message of positivity and hope that you would like to share with our global community.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for this interview. I really appreciate it. It was very nice of you. Second of all, I want to say to people out there, listen, I got 2 books. You can find them on Amazon. Lessons from a Shit Talker, Facebook Conversations. You can't go wrong. Either one is enjoyable. One's a table, the Facebook Conversations. This is sort of like more like a table read.
Right.
You go into the bathroom, you just pick it up just to read. The other one is more inspirational. It's about following your dreams, the lessons I had to learn, the things I had to go through. You can find me. Actually, I have a website. It is called Marklyn Speaks, MarklynSpeaks, marklynspeaks.com. Also, you can find me at MrDirectComedy.com, MisterDirectComedy, and .com, and I will send you those. What I do best is just inspire people to follow their dreams. I can talk about anything, but the only thing that you need to know, follow your dreams.
Yep. I definitely appreciate it. Look forward to getting you back on in the near future. We're going to go out with workplace culture more than folks are expecting it to be. And that was actually somebody that was on one of my friends' shows that talks about that diversity aspect. And I think she's out of Virginia, and maybe one or two other commercials to get us on out of here. And it's always good to have conversations with folks in the comedy space, because it is a space that I know somewhat, since my friend Ronnie used to manage a comedy club here in Durham and is the original producer of This Christmas. And I know he's been living his life large over there in California and doing a lot of positive things, and maybe eventually coming back here to North Carolina. But I know he's got some film projects that he's working on out there in Cali as well. So I had the pleasure of talking to folks like Pierre and Royale and Terry Tuff and a number of other comedians. So I've definitely been watching the comedy lanes for a number of years, and you definitely had me cracking up and laughing as well, into dropping some serious knowledge. So on that note, we're going to get ready to get out of here. I know you've got to run. I've got to run as well. And hopefully we'll be seeing Marklyn back in the near future.
100%. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You know that song, More Than Words? Gosh, I hope your culture is just more than words. More than words on a wall, more than words in a handbook, more than words on a website. More than words. How is your culture showing up, living and breathing every single day? Food for thought. My name's Shelley Smith, and I am your culture curator.
It is a gem, tucked away near a forest, a place where the lost are found. It is a gift of wholeness for those who are ready to receive it. A secret place where peace can be found in stillness, where you can finally stop fighting to survive and just breathe. Just breathe. Where accountability corrects and the word help is not a cuss word. It is the place that was thought of before you ever thought you needed it. It is where forgiveness starts and healing begins. Well, we are taught that when we put our hands to work, we can create something. As we uprooted the weeds in the garden, it was a reflection of our lives. As we uprooted disappointment, as we uprooted pain, as we uprooted being traumatized. Because God doesn't deal with the surface. He gets to the root of it. We laughed. We shared tears. We shared our stories. We shared our fears, our dreams, our visions, our heart. We were more than just mothers. We were broken women trying to figure out how to become whole again. It became a place where homelessness became hopeless until we reached the bridge of wholeness.